Hello and welcome back to the Three-Handed Bandits channel. It's Nathan back with another video for you today. And today I'm going to be breaking down every single game in this Week 7 slate, as well as giving you some of my favorite bets to make throughout this week as well. Before we get into all of that, though, please go ahead and like and subscribe and comment some of your bets down below. Comment, let me know if you're going to be tailing me as well with some of the bets that I'll be placing this week. So we're going to start off with the Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions. This game is taking place in Baltimore. And unfortunately, I was not able to get our power rankings video up this week. But I will say I had Detroit as 7th and Baltimore as 6th, both at the top of the not Super Bowl contenders tier, but definitely playoff locks. And for me, I feel like the Ravens are the benchmark. If you are better than the Baltimore Ravens, you are a Super Bowl contender. If you are worse than the Baltimore Ravens, you are not a Super Bowl contender. And if you are the Ravens, you're kind of both. You know what I mean? And so I do think that the Ravens have a more talented roster. And I do think they are a little bit more proven. I don't think the Lions have necessarily done enough to prove to me that they're a Super Bowl caliber team yet. However, I do think there is potential for them to win this game and, to prove that they are a Super Bowl caliber team. I feel like Vegas has this line at 3 for a reason. I think they believe that Baltimore is a better team, and I'm going to agree. I think the Lions without David Montgomery is a very crucial injury, and I don't think enough people are talking about how important David Montgomery is. The Lions are not some crazy explosive vertical passing game. They're really a team that likes to play tough defense and really grind you out, especially run the ball very hard with David Montgomery, which you're not going to be able to do because he's not playing, obviously. And so with that being said, I do think this is going to be a game that's actually going to have a lot of throwing the ball. I think both of these teams have good rush defenses. So some of my favorite bets include going over on passing yards for Lamar and Jared Goff at 211 and 239, respectively. And going under on Jahmyr Gibbs rushing at 59.5. I just think there's going to be a lot more passing in this game than running the ball. And so that being said, I also like Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and Josh Reynolds to all hit the overs on their receptions. Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews each at 4.5, Josh Reynolds at 3. I do think all three of those guys are going to get plenty of targets and definitely have the opportunity to hit that 5 reception mark for the first two and the 3 reception mark for Josh Reynolds. So I am going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to win this game at home, and I also do think they're going to cover that 3-point spread. So my score prediction is going to be the Baltimore Ravens to score 26 and the Lions to score 22. So it's going to be a close-ish game, but I do think Baltimore will do enough to edge it out. The next up, we're going to go to the Sunday night football game. Now, to me, this feels a lot more like a Super Bowl matchup. I have both these teams in our Super Bowl tier. And to me, like the Lions-Ravens feels like two really good teams going off. Dolphins-Eagles feels like a Super Bowl potential matchup. And the Eagles are going to be the favorite at home at 2.5. But I think they're going to win this game at home, out in the cold, out in the stadium. I think same thing with the Ravens game. I think the Eagles are the favorite for a reason. Granted, it's only 2.5. But I have the Eagles winning 32-28. I do think both of these offenses have the talent and personnel to really put up a lot of points. I think it's really going to come down to the quarterbacks on who makes less mistakes. Both of them haven't necessarily been perfect this year. Jalen Hurts has kind of, turned some opportunities down, and Tua has made some mistakes at times. But both of them are in offenses that are really, really easy when it comes to the general rest of the NFL, just because the play calling or talent is just so amazing around them. So who's going to make the big play when needed? I trust Jalen Hurts a little bit more to create out of structure, hence why I'm going with them. But both of these defenses have been a little underwhelming at points this year. But I think the Eagles at home are going to do enough to edge it out, even though they're going to be out Bradley Roby and Reed Blankenship. But I do like DeAndre Swift over 62.5 yards. I feel like this Dolphins defense has just been a little underwhelming, especially for how much talent they have on that defensive line. And this Eagles offensive line is so great, like we all know. So I do think that they're going to be able to run the ball very well with DeAndre Swift. And I also like AJ Brown to get at least 6 catches. His line's at 5.5. I think you'll hit the over. Xavier Howard is playing, but even then, he's not quite the best man corner anymore. A couple of years ago, he was one of the better corners in the league, but I think he's taken a step back. And so I think AJ Brown could be in store for a really productive day, especially because, tough game. You're going to need your best players to make plays, and I trust AJ Brown to do that. So, yeah, Eagles to win, to cover, and hitting the over for a couple of those Eagles players. And going from a Super Bowl matchup to one of the worst matchups in NFL history, and Tyson Magent versus either Aiden O'Connell or Brian Hoyer. Um, the Raiders are 2.5-point favorites on the road. However, I do think there's a lot of sharps who are kind of picking the Bears, and I do kind of have a weird gut feeling that the Bears are going to win this, even though on paper there is not a single reason why the Bears should win. They got Tyson Badgett, who wasn't even a D1 quarterback, who's an undrafted rookie playing. And they're going to be out Nate Davis and Darnell Wright. So that offensive line is going to be really weak, which is really scary when you have to go against Max Crosby, who's one of the best edge rushers in the league. God, this is such a horrible quarterback matchup. This is the only. I was doing some research. Another bad one that came up to me was C.J. Beathard versus Drew Stanton as an all-time bad quarterback matchup. But this might be the worst quarterback matchup in NFL history. Dude, do I switch my pick to the Bears? Gut call at home. The Bears are going to find a way to squeak this game out 13-9. I'm going with the Bears. I'm switching to the Bears. I was going to pick the Raiders. I'm switching to the Bears. I'm picking the Bears. This is a 50-50 coin toss game to me. Don't bet this game. I'm not touching this game. I'm not looking at this game. This game's going to be horrible. But for what it's worth, I have the Bears winning. Next. And the next up, it's going to be the Cleveland Browns versus Indianapolis Colts. This game does have a trap game written all over it for the Cleveland Browns. They just came off a big upset victory, and they're getting Deshaun Watson back, and Indianapolis Colts without Anthony Richardson done for the year, coming off a big loss. There's just a little bit of that trap game feel to this game for me. The Browns are 3.5-point favorites, and to me, it's weird because I have this gut feeling it's a trap game, but also just on paper, I just don't think Gardner Minshew should be very productive against this Browns defense that's been insane for most of the year. So I'm going for the Browns to win 20-6. However, sound the sirens. This is the trap game siren. I think this could be a trap game for them. There's not a whole lines in this game that I like to bet, just because this game's just giving me a little bit of weird vibes. Donovan Peoples-Jones receptions mark is at 1.5. I low-key like under on that just because he's not been the most productive player. But I'm not betting on this game, or at least not any player props. I do like the Browns to cover this. I would want to bet on that. I just have a weird gut feeling about the Colts maybe making this interesting and winning. But the Browns should win this game. As I said, 26, I think, will be a comfortable one for them. And the next up, we got the Washington Commanders going against the New York Giants. It looks like we're going to have no Daniel Jones. It looks like we'll be back with another week of Tyrod Taylor. And Washington is 3-point favorites on the road. However, I do think there's some sharps who are throwing some money on the Giants. And I'm actually going to agree. I have a weird feeling the Giants are going to win this game. To me, Washington's been a little bit of a roller coaster, up, down, whether on, how good they've been. And I don't trust the inconsistency. The Giants really, really played hard against the Bills, and I think they're going to feel like they deserve a victory and really work hard to get this one. And adding the fact that, as I said, the Commanders are not super consistent and are capable of dropping games like this. I'm going for the Giants to win 17-14. I don't think it's going to be a super high scoring game. If it does become a little bit, a higher scoring game, I'm going to side with Washington. But I do think that the Giants are going to be the team that wins this game 17-14 at home. And the next up, we got the Atlanta Falcons versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites at home. And it's weird. I feel like they're a much better team, but also I kind of have a feeling the Falcons will keep it close. You know what I mean? Obviously, I think Vita Vea is super important for the Buccaneers and their defense and their run defense, and he's questionable. As of the time of recording, I don't know if he's fully going to play or not. But without him, it's going to be kind of scary going against this Atlanta rushing attack with Bijan Robinson. But I do think Tampa has enough talent on that defense. I do think that they're the better team, more talented roster, better quarterback play. And so they should win this game, but I have it going 22-20. I think it's just a weird gut feeling this game could be a little bit closer than people are maybe giving it credit for. But two of my favorite lines from the week is Chris Godwin and Jonnu Smith to go over on their catches at 4.5 and 3.5. For Chris Godwin, he's been targeted a good amount throughout the year, and with AJ Terrell there, I feel like he's going to do a good job of kind of limiting Mike Evans. So I think Chris Godwin is going to be a recipient of some extra passes from that. And then Jonnu Smith has gotten 4 catches or more in every single game this season, except for the opener. So I think he's just going to continue being another solid option. As a linebacker like Levante David, who's a great cover corner, you're going to have to worry about Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson. So I feel like Jonnu Smith is going to be a little bit of the forgotten man. Because of that, I think he'll have a pretty decent game. But I do believe that Tampa is going to win this game. But I do think Atlanta covering is definitely in play. And the next up, we got the Steelers versus the Rams. The Rams are 3-point favorites at home, even though they're going to be without Kyren Williams. And I really don't like this game. I really don't know what I expect. It's like I don't fully feel comfortable picking the Steelers on the upset, but I also don't feel comfortable picking the Rams. I am going with the Rams. I have the score as 18-17, but I'm just not confident about that. I think there's definitely, there's a world where Pittsburgh's defense keeps this game close and really keeps them in it. But there's also a world where the Rams offense is able to pick apart this defense and really go after it and use a scheme to kind of attack it. So not fully sure what I want to do. I'm going with the Rams to win 18-17, but if the Steelers won, I would not be surprised. Am I betting on this game? No. However, I do like Jaylen Warren over 2.5 catches. He's had 3 every single game this year. So I just feel like that line's a little bit too low. And so I think he's going to be able to be used in this passing game because he is such an explosive weapon. So yeah, Rams 18, Pittsburgh Steelers 17. The Rams win this one at home. And the next up, we got the New England Patriots going against the Buffalo Bills. I don't think I said this one earlier, so we're going to go back to this one. The Bills are 8-point favorites on the road in New England, but they've been playing a little sloppy as of late, and I think that's going to continue. I just have a weird feeling that the Patriots are going to keep this close. And if I had a little more guts, I could even say they'd win. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think they're going to keep themselves in it, very similar to how it was last week against the Giants. I think the Patriots will have a similar game. But I think the Bills are going to find a way to squeak it out. I have a score of 18-12. Patriots are dealing with so many injuries. That's really not helping their offense or Mac Jones or just the defense. Everything's really struggling. But I have a weird feeling that Bill Belichick is going to find a way to keep this a close game. There's definitely a world where Josh Allen comes out, has 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and looks unstoppable, and they just completely steamroll the Patriots. Definitely a possibility, but I think this game is going to be closer. So I have the Patriots losing 18-12, but I think it's going to be a close game. The next up, we got the Green Bay Packers going against the Denver Broncos in Denver. They're going to be 1-point favorites on the road, so basically a pick 'em, I guess they're saying. This is a true 50-50 for me also. The Packers are coming off bye, so I'm kind of leaning towards them winning this 20-18. But I do think that Denver could be competitive, but also I had them as my worst team in the power ranking. So where's the coin flipping on this? As I said, I think the Packers, just because they're coming off the bye, I'm going to trust them just a little bit. And because the Packers, there's still a couple injuries, though. Jair Alexander looks like he won't go. Elton Jenkins and David Bakhtiari probably won't be there either. So I don't know what version of these teams are going to get. I don't think the Packers are that good of a team. I think they're definitely a bottom 5 to 7-ish team in the NFL. So I don't necessarily think that there's some guaranteed lock against the Denver Broncos, especially on the road. I will say I do think Russell Wilson in this passing game should be in store for a better game. So I like Russell Wilson over passing yards. And Cortland Sutton to go over his mark at 4.5 as well, especially with no Jair Alexander. I should say. I think I actually looked earlier and saw Cortland Sutton was down to 3.5 catches. So maybe I could just be misreading it. Maybe Jair Alexander is going to play, but I think Cortland Sutton is going to have a good game. And then Luke Musgrave and Jaden Reed, I think could also be in store for some big games. So I wouldn't be surprised if they hit their over, but I'm not necessarily betting on that. But definitely lines I kind of like. But yeah, I think I'm going Packers to win it just because they have the extra time off the bye week, and maybe Matt LaFleur came up with some game planning and ways to get this offense looking a little bit better. And next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals traveling to Seattle. I think this is another game, despite the large spread, is going to be a little bit more competitive. To me, Seattle's offense has looked kind of mediocre early in this year. And so I don't necessarily know that they're going to just put up a bunch of points and just completely lap the Arizona Cardinals, who have been playing somewhat frisky. I think they've lost a little bit of that edge they had the first couple of weeks. As you keep losing these games, you kind of just lose the effort to keep trying. But I do think they're going to keep it a little bit closer just because Seattle hasn't done enough on offense for me to be like, oh, yeah, this is the Seattle offense we're expecting. And DK Metcalf is questionable. I think Tyler Lockett missed Friday practice. So, if you have some injuries in that receiving core, there could be some genuine problems. So I'm going Seattle to win 20-14. I don't necessarily think it's going to be like a super crazy blowout or high scoring game. I think it's going to be a little bit of a defensive struggle, but I do think Seattle just has enough playmakers where they're going to be able to win it. And then next up, we got the LA Chargers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. One of my favorite bets this week is the Chiefs-Chargers game to go under. The Chiefs are not some crazy explosive offense anymore. They're really a grind you out on defense, play great defense, and just do enough on offense to win. With Mahomes and Travis Kelce, they're not going to have some crazy explosive passing attack. However, they're going to find a way to convert 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 2, and just do enough to keep the ball moving, keep the ball in Mahomes' hand, and find a way to put up points. But with the lack of receiver talent, they're not some crazy explosive offense that's going to put 30 points up every single game without fail. And the Chargers defense has actually been playing a little bit better, but then the offense hasn't been great either. And so I think the Chiefs are going to win 23-20 in a close game, in a low scoring game. But I don't think that it's going to be some crazy high scoring game. Because as I said, Chargers have been, bad on either side of the ball in any given game. And the Chiefs they're not going to put up 30 and just completely, lap you and make you keep up with them. They're going to find ways to win, and that's their recipe. I do like Austin Eckler and Pacheco to go under their rushing yards around, I think it was 50 and 62 were kind of the marks. Both these teams, I think the Chiefs are a really great defense, and the Chargers' run defense has gotten a little bit better. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of rushing yardage to be had here. And I also like Keenan Allen to go under his receptions. Trent McDuffie has been balling this year as a slot corner. So I think he could limit Keenan Allen, who I think his line's at 7.5. He's had, close to that. He's been right around that mark outside that one game where he had like 15 catches or whatever it was. That was crazy. I think that was a little bit of an outlier. But I think that line's a little bit high going against a really good slot corner. So that's a bet that I do really, really like. But yeah, I think the Chargers will cover. They'll keep it close, but it's going to be a low-scoring game that Patrick Mahomes finds a way to win. And then lastly, the last game of the week is the Monday Nighter. The Niners going against the Vikings. Debo is confirmed going to be out for a few weeks. And I think McCaffrey and Trent Williams are still questionable at the time of me recording this. I think Brian Flores is going to find a way to do a lot of creative stunts and find ways to get after Brock Purdy and force another bad game from him. Last week was the worst game of his career, really one of the only bad games of his career. And I think he's going to be in store for a little bit of another rough week up ahead. But I do think San Francisco is still going to find a way to win it. I do think that Minnesota is going to keep it close. I have a score of 24-21 in this one. I don't know, 7 points for the Monday Night Home Dog seems a little bit high, but I understand with no Justin Jefferson, this offense has looked kind of mediocre, but I feel some sort of feeling that they're going to keep it close and find a way to keep this a close game despite losing. But overall, that is going to be all of our picks for this week. Please go ahead, comment down below what you agree with, what you disagree with. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you stuck around this far, and we'll be back with some more content for you very, very soon. Thank you for watching.